Fabulous. Okay, we're now going to talk about the actual product itself. So we're going to start with the ROKBOX original, which is the museum spec case. First of all, the corners. So these are made from rubber. They're green and beautiful, obviously. They act as crumple zones. So if the case topples and falls, this is the first area that takes all the pressure, and it will, again, if it's a very bad fall, it will take that pressure and form a crumple zone around these areas. The beams that they are attached to are made of in very strong but hollow plastic, which keeps them light but also very robust. They have practical handles built into the side, so it's easy to lift. The corners are at the bottom, I should have mentioned. They are also made of rubber, but they have a nylon pad underneath, which allows them to then slide on the floor. One of the early designs didn't have that, and people were unable to move them. And it's much easier to slide than to lift at times. So those are the corners. The beams are made of standardized sizes, which is why we have 6 different type sizes that we can use multiple times for different sizes. They have, I think that's the beams.
Virgin materials.
Made of virgin materials, but actually we are going to the point now where we're starting to recycle just our product of beams, so we can recycle them and reuse for ours. But that is because we can ensure the quality of where that plastic's come from. So there's no off-gassing with these things, but the material is very strong and very robust.
As well as having integrated handles, they have integrated feet as well. So the point of that is nothing's going to fall off because it's part and parcel of the design. So a handle isn't going to come loose, a foot isn't going to come loose, which means your crate isn't going to tumble. They're also hollow beams, so lightweight, as Harriet said, but also they offer a degree of insulation because of that trapped air, like double glazing. Additionally, they give a small amount of bounce. It's not squishy like a tire, but there is a tiny bit of give. Because they're hollow, they're not brittle and hard, and they work in conjunction with the corners to reduce the force of a knock that might affect the crate.
Cool. So we have a seal around here, which is for waterproofing. The lid fits very neatly on here, and then we put the clasps round the outside. These are made of aluminium, and there is a two action purpose to them, which means that you can't accidentally have one just come off. You have to push the clasp down on the inside, the spring down, sorry, and that allows you to then release the case. 2 things about this is sometimes people complain that it can be quite noisy. If you're inexperienced about pushing it down, it can make quite a thump, a bang when you push it in. If you very carefully and gently allow your fingers to take the pressure and push it down, you can actually put the latch down without having any noise at all, and that can reduce the vibrations. Lots of people do worry about that, and we can give you like very clear training on how to do it. But also sometimes people find them quite tricky to put down. There's a knack to it, as there is with so many things. You need to push the latch over to make sure that the angle is over the top of the lid, and then gradually push down from behind. And again, we can talk you through this if your technicians have any problems. It's just practice, doing things lots and lots of times.
And on the taller crates, because I don't have as much strength as some people for closing the latches, it's easier for me personally if I can lean the crate or lie the crate flat. Obviously space might sometimes restrict that. Actually, on the leaning issue, the corners, they also, as Harriet was saying, you can slide the crates if it's an institution that does agree with sliding, but also the green corners grip the floor when you lift one end of the crate to put a skate under, or when you tilt the crate against a wall, so that it's at an angle. And on that, you can pack ROKBOX crates, any design, flat, leaning, or completely upright. It's your choice, which is way more flexible than most reusable. Like Turtle, for example, you have to pack flat. Plastic is not like wood. It is non-absorbent to start off with. So this means we've automatically got a waterproof shell. As Harriet said, you've got a waterproof seal here for the lid, but additionally, you'll see the seals on the beam itself, where you've got one piece of beam that fits into another, and that's got a gasket around it that is going to keep it waterproof as well.
Cool. Okay, that's beams and that's corners and latches.
Latches, they're based upon toolbox designs. So that's why your technicians might think they look really familiar. And also they are designed with huge reuse in mind. It's going to keep going, keep going, keep going. Strong material, strong design features, but quick and efficient to use. Did you say about padlock?
I can't remember. I didn't mention padlocks.
You can put a cable tie, a security seal, or a TSA approved padlock, which we can provide you with a TSA approved padlock if you don't already have some in the latch, just in case you've got an institution who are in the habit of locking crates, or just feel a bit anxious that they are that much easier to get into than a traditional wooden crate that might take you 10 minutes to unscrew. In our experience, lots of people ask the question about security and locking it. They don't actually follow through, because then they realize that actually their crate is always sort of being handled by people they know and trust.
So there are 3 panels: the lid panel, the floating panel, and then the back panel. So the one at the back, panel at the back, and this panel in the middle are 2 different panels. I'll go into a reason why in a second, but first of all, the materials they're made of is composite panels. They're made of basically the same thing as the side of a truck, so they're incredibly robust, but also relatively lightweight. They are forklift proof. They are, you know, again, we've had cases that have been used multiple times. They do get some damage and scratching on them, but they're impossible to pierce. They're incredibly strong. So you will get, if you have a forklift going for the case, you will get marking, and it will indent, but it won't go through. So that's the important thing. It's like the actual artwork is always protected. The panels themselves may get a level of damage, but the artwork is always protected on the inside.
Our testing was at 3 miles an hour with forklifts and 5 miles an hour. And at 3, wooden crates and ROKBOX were fine. At 5, wooden crate completely punctured by the forklift tines.
Yeah.
ROKBOX was just scuffed. The difference was incredible.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else on forklifts. Well, we'll go into forklifts on the light in a second when we do light cases. Cool. So then we're going to go on about the panel. So obviously you've got lid panel, back panel made of the same material, and then you've got this floating panel which sits in a bright green gasket. Now this is a large silicon U-shaped foam in which the panel nestles in very neatly. Now what it does is it allows for the vibration to basically be moved elsewhere. So it's not sitting directly onto the panel which is touching the beams and the base. It's sitting in a separate panel which moves independently, allowing the vibration or the shock to basically be moved out, to be taken by the outside of the case. So in vibration, we talk a lot about peak resonance. Peak resonance is when basically, like when you're jumping on a trampoline, 2 things go down together at the exact same time, and suddenly you get this huge increase of energy. Peak resonance is when that energy suddenly explodes. So you've got things moving at a truck moving at a certain level, and the artwork's moving at a different level, and suddenly they meet the same bit together, maybe the foam cushions, and they jump up, and suddenly the artwork is moving at a much higher pace. Lots of arms waving there. But I always think trampoline for me is the best way of thinking of it. 2 people jump at the same time, and suddenly you've got that huge increase of energy that goes through the case. It's more complex than just having this particular silicone gasket. But basically, what it means is that there are sort of some other gaskets around the outside of the case and some other sophisticated infrastructure internally, which allows basically that particular floating panel to move independently. So if there's large shocks or large vibrations, we've managed it basically out of that floating panel. Is there anything you want to add on that?
We tested between, it'll say in the testing data, off the top of my head, I think it's like 3.5 hertz to 200 hertz, something like that. And with those, that's where the natural frequency of like road freight, air freight commonly occurs.
3.5 to 200 hertz.
And as Harriet was saying, our combination of materials works to everything has a natural peak. But the combination we've got of materials, the natural peak is way beyond, it's outside of the areas that are associated with road freight, air freight, etc., which is why ROKBOX performs so brilliantly in vibration and shock. National Gallery of Art London were really interested in their vibration data. And actually, museums tend to be more interested, in our experience, in vibration than galleries. Galleries are more interested in shock because they don't supervise shipments as much. So for them, the full topple is the big fear. Museums tend to have that covered because they've got it couriered and supervised. So for them, it's the more insidious, invisible impact of vibration. So National Gallery of Art London loved our vibration data, but actually said they've got pastels that they worry about traveling. Could they use ROKBOX in the flat position? And we said, in all honesty, we've got no idea. It was designed to travel upright, as the integrated handles, integrated feet, and all the signage on the lid makes clear. But the National Gallery of London came with us to that testing facility, Tufsud, and we tested it in front of them, and it turns out it does also perform brilliantly in that horizontal position, which we had no idea it was going to, but it is just the interplay of different types of materials and how they fit together that just means it's such a great design. And obviously vibration is just like shock, like it's a regular source of energy to the crate, whereas a shock is like just one, just two, something like that. And as Harriet was saying, it's, you know, the combination of the corners, the hollow beams, the floating panel, etc., that mean it's so good for shock as well as the vibration. We did our testing, and we'll talk to you more about testing, but it is worth noting that we do full topple testing. So that's from 90 degrees to flat, worst case scenario. Other reusable crates such as Turtle, last time I certainly looked at their testing data, they test from 45 degrees. That might be because their crates are so heavy, you use a special gadget to lie a Turtle crate flat so you don't break your back in the process. But in a worst case situation, if a crate was going to topple, obviously it's the full drop, and that's what we test from. So, and our results for that were really impressive.
So looking at the ROKBOX mechanical testing summary, you can see in every single case, the ROKBOX original it outperforms the wooden museum case. So again, iterative testing over time, we've ensured that we've, you know, been able to dial out that vibration, as well as when it falls full topple. We've just again added these extra elements like the corners sticking out, and the beam material type, etc., which helps with that.
And actually the corners on the bottom with our drop testing, I keep banging on about full topple, but it's also the drop or a corner drop.
Yeah,
All of that comes into play with any kind of knock.